Well, right now I am by myself out in the middle of nowhere in Germany, trekking into this Bavarian forest, looking for some architectural ruins of the Third Reich that was built by Nazi slave labor. So, yeah, nothing eerie about what I'm doing right now. All right, well, it's kind of chilly this morning. Definitely a heavy hoodie kind of morning. So we've been in the city of Munich, and now obviously we've moved outside of the city and are kind of off of the beaten path a little bit. And I said that it's a little bit eerie, to be honest. The woods is probably where I feel a little bit more at home. Rather than in a city, around a bunch of people. But in 1933, after Hitler took power, well, the Nazi war machine really started cranking up, and the gears really started moving as Nazi Germany was preparing for inevitable war. And this whole country was going to be mobilized for this war effort. And there were different factories that sprung up all over. They were going to need tanks. They were going to need ammunition. Okay, things like ball bearings and stuff like that you wouldn't even think of were going to be needed for this war effort. So today, we're going to be hitting a few different sites, looking for some of these abandoned ruins of some of these factories from the Third Reich era. All right, making our way through the woods here, and I think that we are on the old road that led to this factory, and looks like it might still be in use by some locals today. We're close to the town of Bobingen. I think I mispronounced that correctly. And in 1939, there was an explosives factory by the arms company Dynamite AG that was built near here. It was called Facade I. And then where I'm at right now was on the other side of the river from Facade I. And this was Facade II, and I think we might be coming up on one of the buildings of this complex. But anyway, there was a railway that was built to this factory, and holy cow, I don't know if you can tell it on the video, but this is actually quite a large bunker. Ooh, man, I'm stepping in some mud too. But anyway, Facade I had like 65 buildings and was a testing facility for like large-scale explosives. It's on private ground, so we can't get to that. Facade II had about 25 buildings and was used to produce something called hexogen, which was used to create explosives. And in 1945, this place was producing about 300 tons of hexogen per month. And this is interesting. I can see, looks like some local graffiti artists may have added their touch to this place. Interesting. All right, I'm gonna just take a walk around this thing. All right, made our way over to the other side of this building now, and it looks like there's quite a bit more graffiti over on this side. And I know that it's, a Third Reich building, and I know that they were the bad guys, but still, I still like to see things as they originally were. I just don't like graffiti, but I've made my opinion on that known before. That's neither here nor there. Let's see if we can get down here without falling. Now, one thing that I don't know if I mentioned or not Facade 1 and Facade 2, oh man, just got in a spider web, dadgummit. Facade 1 and Facade 2 were built separate from each other or apart from each other for a couple of different reasons. One, as I mentioned, this is a factory that is producing explosives. So if there's an explosion in one factory, well, you don't want it to cause a secondary explosion in the other factory. I have no idea what the heck this is. I think there's going to be a lot of that in this episode of me not knowing. It's just going to be a whole lot of showing. But anyway, another reason besides the, elements of danger with explosions is, well, you also had to worry about aerial reconnaissance from the Allies. So spreading these factories out made it easier to maybe hide these factories. Here's another one of these wells or whatever it is. But anyway, spreading them out kind of helped to conceal them a little bit more. And we're also away from any urban areas. Well, I found a door, but looks like we aren't going inside. Somebody has fenced this off, but we can maybe get around here and take a little bit of a look inside. And I don't know, it might actually be a relief that this is fenced off. That looks just kind of eerie in there. But yeah, that's what the inside of this chemical factory would have looked like. Oh, well, crud. The fence is open. Dang it. Okay. So, whoever finds this camera and this card on my dead corpse, please tell my wife that I apologize for being a moron. Okay, had to shut off the camera for a second while I squeezed through. We're not going to stay long. We're just going to take a quick look, and then we're going to leave. And I just heard something back there. Okay, I'm freaking myself out right now. All right, so yeah, I honestly don't even really know what to say about this place. Let's just take a look around. I got a light with me here. And let's adjust the lighting. Yeah, just some more graffiti in here. Oh man, this is muddy as heck. Hang on a second. Let's jump over here. Oh. Okay. Yeah. I gotta be careful here. I'm gonna step in something nasty. Now, like I said, there would have been more buildings than this in the complex. I haven't found any yet. Oh, look, a pentagram. Satanists. That doesn't add to the creepiness of this at all. There would have been more buildings in this complex, producing this explosive material for the Reich. But like I said, this is the only one that I've come across so far. All right, let's get back out here. Whoa. Okay. Then we can take a look back here too. Huh. Again, the graffiti is kind of a shame. But yeah, there's a quick look inside the chemical factory here. All right, well, that felt marginally unwise. I don't want to come across as somebody who scares easy, but when I am just out, by myself in these areas, I do become a little bit hyper aware, especially in areas where it looks as weird as that place. And there's a whole lot of noises going on. You never know if some, crazy hobo is sleeping back there and has, some grudge against the world. So yeah, I kept looking over my shoulder while I was in there. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're going to go ahead and move on down the road and see if we can find a few other of these sites. All right, we've moved on to the next spot. Had to travel a little further than what I thought we were going to, but that's okay. And I need to amend an earlier statement. Earlier I said that we were in the middle of nowhere. That's because I only thought that we were in the middle of nowhere. Now we really are out there. We're about halfway between Munich and Stuttgart. And the area that we were in right now in 1938, as the Nazi war machine was really starting to crank into high gear, there was about 100 acres here that was essentially dispossessed by Nazi Germany to be used as the grounds for a new chemical plant that was going to have, I don't know how many buildings throughout this whole area that they were going to be using for the war effort. Showing things here might be a little bit interesting. All right, here is one of many buildings in this complex, and let me show you why this one is going to be a little bit more difficult. Well, because we've got fencing and barbed wire and razor wire and all kinds of intimidating stuff all over the place, and metal gates. And I don't care. I'm not going in there even if I do find a hole. But anyway, these buildings, you can see, hang on a second. Well, let me find a better hole. You can see another building there in the distance. As I was driving along the perimeter of this fence, well, you can just see these brick buildings everywhere that were built for this chemical plant. Now, all of these buildings were built with forced labor. So pretty sad to know what the Nazis were doing to people to essentially build their empire. I read that one of the chemical weapons that was stockpiled here was something called, I think it's pronounced tabun, T-A-B-U-N. It's a nerve agent, and was stockpiled here in this place. Incidentally, Albert Speer, his trial, claimed that he had a plan to kill Hitler by dropping some tabun nerve agent down a ventilation shaft into the Fuhrer bunker. Now, whether that was true or not is hard to say. Maybe he was just trying to cover himself in the post-war trials. But anyway, yeah, these are a few of the structures here at this site. Here's something else that I just found that shows some remains of this chemical plant, or this network of buildings that formed this chemical factory during the Third Reich era. Looks like we have a little water tower back there, and man, like we've already seen, it's pretty dang foggy today, so we can't see it super clear, but yeah, another structure here that remains from that era. All right, driving around here, I found a spot where we can get up a little bit closer to one of these buildings, and as you can see, they've got a big old gate here keeping people out, and boy, look at that at the top. You try to climb that thing, might put a hole in your jeans. But anyway, there are just tons of these buildings scattered all about this 100-acre complex, and you have to think, from the point of view of the Germans at the time, they don't want anybody knowing about this. They have to kind of hide these buildings, and make them a little bit more, I guess, unassuming, from anybody who's doing aerial reconnaissance. If you have some big giant factory, well, that might be a big giant target. So anyway, you have a bunch of smaller buildings like this one that are scattered all about this complex. Yeah, this is so interesting to me. Okay, finally made it to our last spot. Man, finding this place was not easy. Had to go down like a whole bunch of farm lanes and then find some logging roads and then find our way back here into the forest. We're actually not far from the interstate, but like getting to where we need to be was not the easiest thing, and it's put us way behind schedule. So we're gonna have to hurry, but that's okay. Because before this video is up, I wanted to show you Kuno II. Now you might be wondering, what in the heck is a Kuno II? Well, Kuno was the name of a company that helped to build the Messerschmitt 262, which was the world's first jet-powered aircraft. This was going to be kind of one of the wonder weapons of the Third Reich. And the set of woods that we are looking at right now is the site of Kuno II, which was their hidden forest factory. Now, there's been some research done on this, and they have some interpretive signage here along these trails, and here you can see a photo, looks to be of U.S. soldiers who have moved in and are looking at some pieces of an ME 262 here in the forest. Here are a few other pictures here. Looks like maybe a hangar, and then here you can see some aerial photography. But the original factories were in the cities of Augsburg and Regensburg, and Kuno was responsible for assembling the airplanes on behalf of the aviation company Messerschmitt. So anyway, during World War II, the bombings kind of ruined those plans, so they were forced to move their factories to the forest. Now, there is not much here to see, but there are a few remnants that I've found so far. So here you can see, a little bit of concrete, and then if we move out here, another thing that I noticed, like right along out in here, it looks like there was some sort of assembly track or something like that. We'll walk up here and take a look, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But anyway, this is where the Messerschmitts were assembled in the latter part of the war. Here's another little something here. And another thing, again, that's sad about this place is it was hastily built using forced labor from a sub-camp of Dachau. So again, you have slave labor that is being used to build this place. But here you can see this pit here, and yeah, this is the site of Kuno II. All right, well, real quick, I know, but that was the site of Kuno II. Now, even though we are, deep in the forest, and this was supposed to be like this hidden factory where they were assembling the Me-262, well, it wasn't hidden quite good enough. In April of 1945, U.S. bombers ended up hitting this spot, and I'm not exactly sure if it was Kuno II or not, but I know that there was at least one spot where there were these Messerschmitts that were like 30 minutes away from taking off when U.S. bombers hit them. So anyway, again, air power playing such a huge role in World War II. But those were just a few sites of some of the abandoned relics of the Third Reich. Love getting out and exploring this history and doing things like this.